Released in 1999 by Tri-Ace on the original PlayStation, Valkyrie Profile will be an action RPG set in Norse mythology. Directed by Yoshihiro Gotanda and written by Masaki Norimoto, the game would be the first entry of a trilogy but the final one chronologically. For story, the game features a Valkyrie named Lenneth as she collects the souls of dead warriors to fight alongside her as she prepares Asgard for Ragnarok, fighting alongside up to 24 other characters, though only 4 can be fielded in battle at a time. For gameplay, players can visit towns and dungeons around an overworld map as actual exploration is done in 2D with mainly platforming and puzzle solving. Battles are turn-based, but the game has a unique system in which each of the player's 4 units is assigned to one button, and pressing that button enables that character to attack. There are 6 classes of characters alongside 6 classes of weapons, and each character has 3 individual attacks, though the weapon they equip may limit what is usable in battle. Each character has an individual meter they may consume for attacking, and attacking in a certain manner with certain characters results in different types of combos or special attacks. The game also features voiceover for most of the dialogue, dungeon maps viewable in 3D, multiple endings based on several decisions made during the game, and many optional dungeons, bosses, and characters. Keep in mind, to reflect the Norse mythology, many names are pronounced with their Icelandic, Welsh, or Norse dialects. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, we see a sincere and hardworking 14-year-old girl named Platina who lives under abusive parents in the poor village of Coriander. She sees some strange men in black leaving her house, and that night, her friend Lucian wakes her and urges her to run as he tells her that her parents have sold her into slavery. They attempt to flee into the night as he mentions the same men in black went to his house and the next day his little sister was gone. As they run, they get lost in the moonlit wilderness, eventually finding a field of flowers. Realizing too late these are poisonous weeping lilies, Lucian rushes over to Platina to move her from their toxic pollen. Platina openly wonders if dying peacefully here wouldn't be better than the awful life she's had so far, and thinks to take a chance on being reborn. Allowing herself to succumb to the poison and her despair, Platina dies in the arms of a mourning Lucian. As it turns out, Platina was the human host of the sleeping soul of Lenneth Valkyrie as she returns to Valhalla, unaware of the life she just left. Arriving, she is greeted by the goddess Frey and summoned before the ruler of the gods Odin and goddess Freya. Odin recognizes her as the greatest of the 3 goddesses of destiny and informs her the head of Mimir has stated that the end of the world, Ragnarok, draws near. War with the Vanir seems inevitable to the Aesir as well, and so he orders her to descend down to Midgard and search for human souls that can serve as suitable warriors. Suiting up in her armor, she leaves with Freya, who observes Lenneth truly has no memories of the human world recently. Using her ability to hear the cries of human souls near death, Lenneth is reminded of her mission to collect souls worthy of becoming heroes. We now see the kingdom of Artolia, where a loyal knight named Lothar and a powerful mercenary named Arngrim are recognized for their battle strength, though Arngrim publicly expresses his disdain for the pompous royalty. From this, Lambert, royal counselor of Artolia and secret spy for its rival kingdom Vilnor, pays off a thief named Badrach to make a delivery with Arngrim as bodyguard. However, neither one knows they are being set up as scapegoats in a plot to kidnap the kingdom's princess Yolanda and frame for her death. When discovered and trapped, the princess is turned into a monster by ghoul powder from a necromancer, and Lenneth arrives to save Arngrim and helps slay this powerful foe. Lenneth claims the soul of Yolanda and offers Arngrim a role as an Einherjar, joining him in avenging the princess by slaying Lambert that was really the necromancer that set them all up. Unfortunately, the kingdom still comes to arrest Arngrim for killing the princess and minister, and between being falsely branded a treasonous murderer by his country, forced to fight his friends and Lenneth's offer, he opts to take his own life and let her take his soul. Freya notes that souls need to be strengthened before being sent to Asgard, and while she observes them in battle against the vampire, she reminds them of their time limit and warns her that it takes more than raw strength to become a hero, speaking of Arngrim, whom she refuses to accept. Elsewhere in the town of Lesson, a kind nobleman named Belenus muses about the power of higher beings and their ability to pick people like they pick flowers. That night, a phantom visits him and Lenneth saves him, informing Belenus his home has fallen to a vampire's curse. They are too late to save the servant Belenus is in love with, though Lenneth offers to take his soul instead of hers, and he agrees, sacrificing himself in a ritual called soul transfer so she may live. Venturing to the kingdom of Krell Monferrain, steeped in a holy war with its neighbors, she observes an empty casket funeral for an archer named Llewelyn, who died at sea while being sent away for war, and helps him reconcile the grieving of his fiancée, who had endured the pain of their departure for years. Meanwhile, in Artolia, Arngrim's brother Roland has been wrongfully jailed for his brother's actions, and Lothar refuses to believe what he hears of Arngrim going berserk and murdering dozens of people for no reason. Confiding in his friends and fellow knights, Celia and Kashell, he intends to at least break Roland out. Despite freeing an innocent man, Lothar is swiftly executed, though recruited by Lenneth. Elsewhere, on the remote island of Hylon, a young shrine maiden named Nanami seeks to complete a ritual of ascension despite not being a direct descendant of her adopted family. When approaching the sacred sword Dragonbane, the spirit of her dead foster sister and previous maiden who failed in the ritual comes out and attempts to take Nanami's life. Lenneth saves Nanami, but Nanami wants to save her sister even more than her own life, and so offers to exchange her soul to help both her sister and family. Nearby, a swordsman named June seeks a cure for his twin sister's blindness, hearing of an ogre that possesses a soul stone that can work. However, the soul stone works by exchanging a life for a life, and when June strikes down the ogre to claim the stone, the ogre laughs as his body was but a vessel and moves to possess June's in response to June's bloodlust. When Lenneth arrives, she easily strikes his ogre form down and tells June there never was an ogre here, as this cave is just a dark mirror, and what he fought was a reflection of his own soul. He shares a special connection to his twin, and the cloudiness of his soul is actually what has been blinding her, but by ending his life he can grant her sight again. Elsewhere, his sister's sight indeed returns, but somehow she senses her brother's demise. Back in Krell Montferrain, we see a former knight named Janus who failed at an important political assassination and has since been disavowed and disgraced by his country. Those who employed him, fearing revenge, trick him and reward his loyalty to the kingdom with a fatal backstabbing as his soul is collected by Lenneth. Meanwhile, in Camille Village, Celia and Kashell investigate a village whose members have been petrified and shattered. They find a seal and an intact little girl, but then they hear the voice of the monster responsible, which was unknowingly released by the little girl. The demon quickly appears and fatally stabs Kashell, who was holding the potion that could cure petrification, and determined to at least save the little girl, he focuses on protecting the vial. Hearing his cry, Lenneth appears to catch the vial, and recognizes his deed of wanting to save a stranger's life over his own, accepting him as an Anhiriar as he passes. Celia would find the vial and save the little girl with it, but urges her not to cry for the loss of her village, despite grieving for the loss of another friend herself. After clashing again with vampires causing chaos across the land, Lenneth also confronts the demon that destroyed Camille Village. As years pass and the Asgardian war rages on, Lenneth crosses a clockwork labyrinth and visits another warfaring kingdom named Vilmor, where she finds a defiant warrior named Aelia refusing to die in a dungeon. At some point, she had acquired the Dragon Gem, which allowed her the coveted ability to turn into a dragon, but also made her a target for those who wanted such power, including a sorcerer named Gandar, who wanted to also know about the legendary treasure of Midgard, the Dragon Orb, and thought she may hold a clue. Unfortunately, she would die from his torture and be recruited into Lenneth's ranks. Off of the coast of Hylon, a young mermaid named Yumei is looking for something called a lapis, as she runs into a fisherman and his son familiar with the tale of the mystical wish-granting gem. The son, smitten with Yumei, tells her he also believes in the lapis, and as they arrive in port, Yumei reveals she is looking for her father Ko, a famous general who had a child with a mermaid during an old war with the merfolk. She is surprised to learn her father is dead, and returning to the ocean, it is discovered she is a mermaid by the sun. She shares that her mother also died recently, but because she bore a half-human child, she was outcast by their clan and she died alone. Seeing that her dream of her family alive and together will never happen, and not belonging to any society herself, Yumei leaves to die in the nearby whirlpools. The son is suddenly granted the lapis with the power of his heart connecting to Yumei's, and with it he sincerely wishes for her to be with her family. Lenneth hears the wish and so takes the soul of the dead Yumei and grants it by reuniting her with her family in death, though the boy would never know if his wish was ever granted. Traveling to the academic city of Flensburg, a sorcerer named Lezard steals away an elf woman, revealing his acquisition of the Philosopher's Stone and learning that elves are the vessels of gods. He intends to use the captured one as a catalyst for the ultimate vessel in the process of his grand scheme. Later, the headmistress of the Magic Academy, Lorenta, leaves from a birthday party in her honor, as a familiar of Lezard passes along that she is to come to him alone, as her husband is held hostage. Lezard was a brilliant former student at the Academy and was expelled by Lorenta, as he reveals he intends to use the lifetime of love the elderly couple accumulated as a sacrifice for his current experiment. He fed the husband ghoul powder to turn him into a monster, who turns around and kills Lorenta, who does not wish to fight him. After she dies, Lenneth descends to collect her powerful soul, but also slays the demon, but learns this was also bait from Lezard. As Lenneth ventures down Lezard's fiend-filled tower, she is welcomed by the sorcerer himself, revealing his obsessive love with her ever since he saw her long ago. Since then, he has been taking to studying the gods and dissecting what really composes them. He found them to have souls like humans, and so successfully reverse-engineered an elf, the vessel of the gods, into his own homunculus, custom designed for Lenneth. Though he wishes to make her human and control her with this vessel, Lenneth rejects his offer and destroys the body he built. They battle, but Lezard gets away as Lenneth states back that he is foolish to even think love can exist between a human and a god in the first place. Lezard mocks this, saying she doesn't truly know what she is, and he hasn't given up yet. After the battle, she discovers the many homunculi fashioned to be her body and begins destroying them, but pauses as she sees a young one that for some reason reminds her of something, and she decides to spare it and leave. Now venturing to the castle, the Lord of the Undead, Brahms, she makes it to the throne room before the castle disappears by daybreak, and Brahms talks to her, wondering if she's come to settle things with him. Seeing her hesitation to reply, he asks if she remembers either him or her own sister, and Lenneth is clearly confused. Brahms concludes Odin must be using her as a puppet, and reveals to her the Valkyrie Silmeria, trapped in crystal, urging her to reconsider her actions, as Brahms easily defeats her in battle and allows her to retreat. As the Valkyrie clears out dungeons filled with powerful servants of hell, she visits the city of Garabellum, where many refugees of the war have fled, and there is a wide gap between the rich and growing poor of the city. As a young thief named Claire walks the streets, she spots Lenneth and notices she has silver hair like how a friend of hers, another thief named Lucian, described a girl he knew and loved, but died. In a sudden fit of jealousy, Claire hits her with a rock, and the caretaker of the orphanage apologizes for Claire's action. Lenneth uses her alias, Meryl, when incognito, but by chance, Lucian visits the orphanage too to drop off some money. Lucian is stunned to see Lenneth, but Lenneth introduces herself with no memories of him. Lucian then confronts Claire on her actions, but Claire defends that she's mad about having to compete with a ghost for Lucian's heart. Later, one member of the band of thieves Lucian runs with gets caught by the nobleman he was trying to rob, and is tortured to death as punishment. Using this event, the nobles have ordered the army to wipe out all of the thieves, but really they intend to slaughter all of the slum dwellers. Lucian intends to help the orphans escape first, but is discovered by the army and shot down. Dying in Claire's arms, Lenneth comes to collect his soul, and again, Lucian is shocked to see how Lenneth looks exactly like Platina. Back in Flensburg, the top-of-class student of the Magic Academy, Mystina, is informed of Headmaster Lorenzo's murder by her expelled pupil, Lezard, and to herself is glad to hear it, having no fondness for the old teacher and was old friends with Lezard. Egotistical and bored easily, she spends her free time in a machine that allows her to astrally project herself and wander freely, and chooses to explore Lezard's tower. She is surprised to find magic and runes thought lost forever, and is intrigued by how he gained so much power to even move this tower into a different dimension. She finds one of his journals, but is unable to read it, but also discovers the child homunculus he made and Lenneth spared. She chooses to take it for herself for study, and later is visited in her home by Lezard himself, where they have a casual conversation. Lezard reveals his discovery of the Philosopher's Stone, but more relevantly, he knows Mystina took his homunculus and wants it back. She trades it back for information on the Bifrost, the bridge between Asgard and Midgard, as her goal right now is to reach Yggdrasil. He reveals its entrance is in the Forest of the World Tree guarded by the elves. While Mystina holds disdain for the elves, Lezard reveals the secret that the gods require elves to walk among Midgard, for they are their vessels and are more akin to gods themselves. In fact, children may be born between human and elf unions, and even Odin himself is actually a half-elf. As proof for his theory, he tells the story of Odin's ascension to the Lord of the Gods. Unlike the incomplete humans, gods are already at their final evolution, but are therefore static and do not have the ability to grow further. Odin, being half-mortal, was thus able to grow as a being of the best of both worlds, and become their ruler. Furthermore, gods then use the vessels called elves to travel through Midgard and also protect the World Tree. But because human souls can also be transferred into elves, he concludes gods and human souls are roughly equivalent beings. He therefore made all of his homunculi half-human and half-elf, and proposes that should he move his soul into one, he might become a god himself. With that, he takes his leave, as he has nowhere to safely store his homunculus for now, and so leaves it in Mystina's care. Afterwards, Mystina resumes traveling in spirit form as she is contacted by Lezard again, who shares his ambitions are more than just becoming a god, for if he can master the magic to seal a god into a homunculus, he can challenge even the gods himself, during which he also intends to claim the goddess he loves for himself. Mystina senses something wrong, as Lezard now appears in her lab while her spirit is drifting and freezes it over, effectively killing her body. Lenneth comes to claim the proud soul, mentioning she can research the Bifrost and Yggdrasil firsthand now, and Mystina thinks she can now haunt Lezard a little as revenge. While exploring some ruins, the young knight Celia reflects on the words of her many fallen friends, Arngrim, Loffer, Kashell, and Aelia, as she now moves to confront another former comrade, Grey, who was thought to have killed a friend of Kashell's, a woman named Lemia. In her eyes, the pursuit of Grey has led to the deaths of all of her friends, and though she draws her sword, she drops it and chooses to cling to Grey instead, begging him to tell the truth about how Lemia died. Celia does not want to kill her last friend, but Grey simply asks for her forgiveness, as he already sacrificed his body in an attempt to exchange his soul back for saving Lemia's, leaving a despairing Celia with empty armor. Lenneth arrives to claim his soul, revealing Lemia actually lost her life saving Grey's through soul transfer, and he never killed her, but never forgave himself either. He He does not consider himself worthy to be an Einherjar, and Lenneth confirms he was foolish to try and reverse a soul transfer, and while his soul is tainted, he may still atone as a warrior for the gods. Back in Hylon, a blind song maiden named Shiho is used to inspire courage for the soldiers of the army, enabling them to fight harder against the opposing army of samurai. However, when she stops singing, despite attempts to force her to, the Hylon army becomes panicked and is routed by the samurai. When one samurai named Suo asks her why she stopped singing, she instead replies how all she wanted was to see, yet was only given the ability to sing and grew tired of it. She instead desired death now, and while Suo would spare her, his commander would not, striking her down as an enemy tool, as Lenneth would claim her soul. Over in Krelmon-Ferrain, a young woman named Leticia assumes the name and identity of a man named Jayle in order to be accepted as a knight. Though her captain would figure it out and keep it a secret too, she did so in order to get closer to the court sorcerer Magnus and avenge her family's deaths at his hands. The captain also wishes to help her as Magnus also serves the Dark God, but their attempt to assassinate him is foiled as he summons a powerful undead named Genevieve that bewitches all of the men. Being a woman, Jayle is unaffected, but Lenneth is alerted to the scene by the powerful undead she has faced before. While the Valkyrie would defeat her in battle, behind them the bewitched captain stabs Jayle through, killing her. Genevieve gets away for now, abandoning Magnus, and as the captain comes to his senses, he mourns a dying Jayle, and both of them confess a secret love for each other. In retaliation, the captain would strike down Magnus in a rage, and Lenneth would claim Jayle's soul. Meanwhile, in Vilnor, we see Badrach again, this time being struck down by an assassin sent to tie up a loose end. While Lenneth arrives to collect him, she informs him for his life of banditry he will be sent to hell, and as he pleads for reconsideration, she demands he confess one sincerely good act he's done in his entire life. Thinking hard, he shares that he was once hired to escort some slavers, and chose to save one little girl from them. While unable to reunite her with her brother, he left her to Camille Village, and Lenneth realizes this to be the same little girl that accidentally released a demon there, but whom Kashell saved. Admitting he is not irredeemable, she accepts him after all, and even brings his spirit to meet the young girl in Camille, now grown up, who recognizes and thanks him. As Lucian is prepared to be sent to Asgard next, Lenneth questions what keeps burdening his soul, and reluctantly, he asks her to accompany him to his old village of Coriander. He begins to speak of Platina and even recreates their escape to the Weeping Lily Field together, asking Lenneth to take her helmet off. He blames himself for Platina's death, and because Lenneth looks exactly like her, he is still reminded of how he still loves her. She gives him closure by giving him a kiss, and with that, Lucian is able to finally move on, though to herself, Lenneth remarks that love between a god and a human cannot exist. Yet, she somehow finds her thoughts lingering on Lucian, and hoping to see him again. Venturing into the fallen kingdom of Daipan, the soul of a man named Barbarossa recognizes Lenneth and claims she is the one that led the kingdom to ruin, but the Valkyrie has no memory of this. Exploring the ruins of the city, she stumbles into a time mechanism that meddling mages trap her with and sends her to the past. Seeing the kingdom during its prime, Lenneth spots her black-armored elder sister, Hrist, asking about Barbarossa, and a mage with them saying that Arngrim is preparing his execution. Lenneth learns from the Queen that King Barbarossa listened to 3 mages that constructed the time mechanism, but for seeking eternity, the gods now sought to punish the king, resulting in Hrist overseeing Barbarossa's decapitation, though she gives her a crown to return to him. Strangely, the time mechanism would activate again, returning Lenneth to her proper time, and after putting the king at peace, he admits he was responsible for desiring eternity in the first place. Calling out the mages for underestimating the bond of the king and queen that surpassed even time, Lenneth hunts all 3 conniving mages down. After the next major war effort in Asgard, Odin asks Lenneth to repair a broken artifact and retrieve the sorceress Lyseria, a being so powerful she feared her own might and sealed herself in crystal. Meanwhile, Lucian is still bothered that Lenneth and Platina are 2 separate people, which is noticed by Frey and Loki, who also admires the Valkyrie. They explain to Lucian that when Valkyrie isn't needed, she sleeps inside the body of a human until she is needed again. That being said, when she wakes, she'll have no memory of her time as a human, as Freya seals it so as to not interfere with her Valkyrie duties. Lucian poses the question of how he can restore her memories, and Frey states it is impossible to break Freya's seal unless by Freya or Odin themselves. Loki pauses Frey from talking too much, but sees the fire burning within Lucian and smirks to himself. When they are alone, he mentions that while there is no direct solution, there is another way to restore Lenneth's memories. The method won't be easy, but I'll at least be able to speak to Valkyrie and asks if Lucian is up to the challenge. He mentions Odin is able to contact Lenneth on a regular basis using something called the Water Mirror, and Lucian can try using it at his own risk. Lucian seizes the opportunity as Loki leads him to the mirror and shows him how to use it. Lucian indeed succeeds in contacting Lenneth, but she is not pleased at him using Odin's mirror for personal reasons. He quickly tells her he's going to send her an earring, and the other part is hidden somewhere else, but he has faith she will figure out where it is. Though she takes the earring, Lenneth is in no mood for games and cuts off the conversation, mad at Lucian. After the contact, Loki then assumes a more powerful form, having used the distraction to steal the powerful artifact, the Dragon Orb, and now moves to kill Lucian after framing him for its theft. After striking the warrior down, he would lie to Odin and twist Lucian's usage of the mirror to claim he sent it to Midgard as a plot to aid the giants. Freya doesn't believe him so easily, to which Odin simply concludes that because Loki did not have the orb on his person, and they do not have proof one way or the other, they can only believe Loki's story for now. Unaware of this, Lenneth continues Odin's mission, approaching and formally requesting Lyseria's aid, proving her might can command Lyseria's power. Taking the artifact to the elves, she aids them in repairing it with a list of exotic materials. Moving to Hylon, she observes Suo, the samurai that tried to spare Shiho, as part of a raid on a village where the enemy is rumored to be hiding. His thoughts on Shiho's distaste for meaningless bloodshed grows on him, as he pauses when facing a scared young man trying to defend unarmed women and children. In stopping himself from indulging in more senseless violence, his hesitation is rewarded by the young man striking him down and killing him. When Lenneth comes for him, he explains he didn't find it right to blindly follow orders when it meant killing those he wanted to protect, and for his compassion, Lenneth collects his soul. Checking in with Asgard, Freya informs Lenneth of Lucian's betrayal to Odin by stealing the Dragon Orb and swift execution by Loki. Unfortunately, the Dragon Orb has not been recovered and Lenneth is tasked with searching Midgard for it. Wondering if the earring Lucian sent her was a clue to something, Lenneth investigates, checking the Holy Palace where one of the 4 jewels that stabilizes the world, the Dragon Orb, once rested. At the same time, the sorcerer Gandar, who tortured and killed Aelia for the same information, is also in the palace, frustrated to find it's no longer there. As he searches on his own, he notes whoever took it had to have been of exceptional strength to subdue the Guardians here, and when one such Guardian attacks him, he is saved by none other than Freya herself right as Lenneth arrives too. However, she says Gandar is actually to be killed for trespassing here, but his soul is not to be destroyed by orders of Odin, and thus must be executed by Lenneth. Easily taken down by the goddesses, Gandar isn't given much of a choice between serving Odin or being sent to hell. In her search, she also runs across Genevieve again, finally destroying the Queen of the Undead, but her efforts do not turn up the Dragon Orb. Thinking back to the words of Lucian, she finds herself wandering in the Weeping Lily Field again where Lucian took her, and finds a strange unmarked grave. Sensing something, she begins digging and finds the other half of the earring pair there, surprised to somehow know that. Clutching it, memories of her life as Platina return to her, followed by recent memories of Lucian as an Einherjar, and then she finally receives a vision of Lucian being struck down and killed by Loki. At the same time, Freya is aware immediately that Lenneth has regained her memories, but Odin reveals this is also per plan, and colluding with him, Freya reports the security is operating normally. Back with Lenneth, she is suddenly racked with pain, as her elder sister Hrist now shows up. Knowing she doesn't have much time, she summons forth Arngrim and Mystina and asks them to help her, as Hrist now takes control of Lenneth's body and turns to them, claiming she is the Valkyrie now and they must obey her. Arngrim and Mystina refuse, as Hrist chuckles, reminding Arngrim how they fought together against the vampire Brahms years ago, and how their battle continues, as he still holds her youngest sister Silmeria's soul trapped in crystal. She then states Lenneth will not be returning, and repeats they follow her now. Mystina actually never knew the Valkyrie's real name, and Hrist explains they are the 3 goddesses of destiny and control the transmigration of souls. Lenneth was in charge of Midgard, but she has been relieved of duty. As the 2 souls still refuse to follow her, Hrist notices the earring on her body and tosses it aside as she prepares to obliterate them all, but the soul of Lenneth comes out now to protect them, sacrificing herself to shield them from harm. Seeing Lenneth is not fully asleep yet, Hrist leaves them be for now, but Mystina now sees the remaining wisps of Lenneth's shattered soul are starting to disappear. The voice of Lezard now chimes in, refusing to let that happen, and tells Mystina how to collect the fragments safely for now. Cutting straight to the point, Lezard is here to help Lenneth, same as them, and takes them back to the homunculus he prepared for Lenneth beforehand. Mystina finds this solution too convenient for Lezard, and Lezard smugly shrugs at their combined skepticism. With no other options, they hand the fragments to Lezard, who begins the ritual of soul transfusion he's prepared, and combined with the homunculus, the procedure works. Though, he points out this is only a temporary solution since it's hard to say how damaged her soul actually is, and the best thing would be restoring her to her true vessel. Knowing this means taking on Hrist, Lezard joins their fight as they know where she'll be, quickly arriving at the castle of the king of vampires, Brahms. Brahms is surprised to have his duel with Hrist interrupted, but when the group explains the situation, he understands Hrist is not the true Valkyrie right now. He suddenly jumps to stand with the group, knowing that Hrist is also not fully awakened at full power, and so their fated duel will have to wait. He's amused to ironically fight alongside Arngrim against Hrist this time, and joins forces with them for now. As the uneasy alliance clashes against the eldest of the Valkyrie's sisters, they destroy her and reclaim Lenneth's body. As Brahms parts ways, Arngrim thanks him and Brahms wonders if there's anything else he wants from him, but Arngrim replies that whatever happened before has nothing to do with who he is now. Brahms chuckles again and takes his leave as the group returns to incite the ritual to restore Lenneth as best they can. Weakened but alive, Lenneth reflects on the words and experiences of death, departing, and destiny she's seen from her Einherjar and looks closer at herself, questioning her role and its purpose. Waking up with her memories intact from this life and her past as Platina, her new self is more human again as she now begins to openly grieve for Lucian's fate. Meanwhile, in the Icefield of Jotunheim, Loki travels to meet the king of the Vanir, Surt, and warns him he will not win the upcoming battle against the invading Aesir with numbers alone. He presents him with the Dragon Orb alongside the wolf Fenrir and the dragon Bloodbane, rumored to have swallowed one of the 4 great treasures, the demon sword Levantine. Despite the generous offering, Surt refuses, saying he doesn't need them to win, and in response, Loki reveals his true form and kills Surt. As Ragnarok now begins, the persons of unusual origins take the center stage. Odin, half mortal and half divine, who became Lord of the Gods. Loki, a half Aesir and half Vanir, yet accepted by neither, capable of unmatched cruelty. Finally, Valkyrie, a being of half mortal and divine memories and composed of 3 psyches and unknown power. Loki would lay waste to Jotunheim and Valhalla, moving to defeat both Odin and Freya. As Lenneth returns to Valhalla, she is informed the 4 treasures are being waged in this battle, and remembers how each is representative of one of the 4 worlds located within the world tree Yggdrasil, and whose balance keeps the peace. From the human world Midgard, the Dragon Orb. From the world of the gods Asgard, the spear Gungnir. From the world of the elves Alfheim, the Sylvan Bow. And from the icy netherworld Niflheim, the demon sword Levantine. As she advances, she sees Freya holding a dying Odin and tells her she is going to face Loki. Freya orders her to gather their forces, but Lenneth refuses, no longer taking order from Odin, especially since this entire battle is occurring because he lied and stole the Dragon Orb from Midgard in the first place. Freya sees the new Lenneth and tells her she cannot bring back the dead, and the whole reason she sealed her memories was to help her preserve the natural order of life and death. Lenneth replies she wishes to save all the humans now and wants Freya to know the pain she feels with Odin's death is the same as any humans and is not to be taken lightly. Pursuing Loki, she destroys the legendary beast Bloodbane, claiming the demon sword Levantine for herself and uses it to cut down the wolf Fenrir in her way. Calling out to the treacherous god, he mocks her for hating him just for killing one simple human. Unleashing the full power of the orb, Loki brings about Ragnarok himself, annihilating not only the realm of the gods Asgard, but also completely wiping out Midgard as well. Lenneth is able to weather the attack, but as Loki mocks her empathy as a weakness, Lenneth reveals she can not only hear the cries of pain of those lost in Midgard, but thanks to the half-mortal, half-divine body Lezard crafted for her, like Odin, she can ascend in power far beyond the god Loki. The power of all mankind's souls now gather within her, enabling her to now awaken a new power of creation, restoring and rebuilding the destroyed world and realms Loki just devastated. Summoning back her noble Einherjar for one more battle, the new goddess of creation, Lenneth Valkyrie, lays down final judgment on the greedy god Loki. Victorious, Lenneth claims his soul, wondering if she'll ever understand what was inside his heart, and interrupting her, a revived Lucian embraces her as they finally share a sincere and overdue kiss. As the game ends, Brahms reflects that time moves on, as Odin is gone and now Valkyrie is Lord of Creation. He also notes that within the reborn world, so too were the forces of Chaos reborn, and now begin to move again. He chuckles to himself, knowing that he still holds one half of the Lord of Creation firmly in his grasp, and also that the mistress of Niflheim, Hel, will not remain silent. He also expresses concern about the man of Midgard, but will observe for now. At the same time, Lezard states he sacrificed the Philosopher's Stone to survive Ragnarok, and while it was a costly victory, thanks to Valkyrie, he now knows his theories of godhood are not only real, but attainable for himself too. After all, his is now the only soul not reborn and controlled by Valkyrie, though he confesses she has still captured his heart. Laughing at the future before him, he eagerly moves forward with his ambition. Valkyrie Profile has enjoyed the success of selling over 1 million copies worldwide.